Right, this simple machine is called the wedge. Like we can split a log with this wedge. And to figure out the ideal mechanical advantage for a wedge, it's like everything else. There's a dE over a dR, and we have to figure out how do we label that. Well, what we call this side of this wedge, we call that usually the height. And then if we go right down through the middle, we call that the length. And so the dE is actually the length, and the dR is actually the height, because it's actually this part right here is actually what's doing the splitting, moving this part of the log that way and moving this part of the log that way, which is the resistance. So it's the long side over the H side. Now, there's a little debate here because, I mean, isn't a wedge really like an inclined plane? And if you remember an inclined plane, like there's like a wedge, it was the slope, the length here, this was your dE and this was your dR. Now what we're saying is that, we have a wedge, and instead of it being this, the dE, we're still saying this is the dR, but what we're saying is like this vertical thing is the dE. And that is just debatable. There's people that still debate this. So it kind of depends on which way this resistance is moving. Is it moving straight out, or is it moving like this way or something? And so there's kind of debate on that, and we're not going to worry about it. In POE, I think they probably won't even ask you a question about it because of the debate. But the equation that we use in the POE worksheets is that we don't use the length along the slope here. We actually use the length of the wedge from one end over to the point. So the IMA is going to be the length of it over basically the thickness of the wedge. That's going to be how we calculate the ideal mechanical advantage. What is the AMA? Well, that's going to be your resistance force. So someone would have to tell us how much resistance this log is putting here, the FR right here, and that would be over your effort force, which of course would be, being with a sledgehammer or something applied down into the wedge, the effort force. So we could still figure out the actual mechanical advantage if those forces were given, and then we could figure out then of course an efficiency by taking the actual mechanical advantage over the ideal mechanical advantage times 100, we'd still be able to figure out an efficiency of the wedge. That's the wedge.